We are live on YouTube. We're also live on Rumble. So that's going. I finally got that all worked out. So, but tonight we are here to continue with Expedition Bigfoot, episode number 6, Tracking Terror.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell you what, there's not too many times that you would see somebody like Russell Acord, who I've met and talked to several times, getting shook up. But boy, did he get shook up last night on the show, did he not?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, like we were talking before we started how he was just, on edge once he got on that island.
And yeah, ever since he got stranded on that island, things just kind of went downhill from there for him and Ryan, his cameraman, temporary cameraman, I guess, because Zach wasn't there with him, Zach Hall. But hopefully Zach will be back with him on the next time they go out. I sure hope there's going to be a season 5. Because quite honestly, these guys have and I say guys, including Dr. Mireya Mayor, that have really the stuff that they're coming up with and they're finding remarkable, really, really remarkable. And it makes you wonder because, again, like I've always said, I'm still on the fence about Bigfoot. But when you look at the fact that the things that they've been finding, not everything that they find, I think, is related to Bigfoot. But they don't have answers to some of the things that they're finding. But some of the stuff is, we're going to dig into that some tonight, a little bit as we go along here. But
yeah, one of the first, I think with the first episode, I came away from it thinking like, well, that kind of felt spooky, like a little darker than previous seasons. And throughout, as we've progressed through the season, it's gotten spookier and spookier. And yes, I jumped as well.
So did I.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I got a little clip tonight that I'm going to be showing. And every time I watch it, I still jump.
Yeah. And so it's getting spooky. And I don't know if, like they keep saying like Alaska's different, and so I don't know if some of the stuff, everything is Bigfoot, like you were saying, or if it's like Bigfoot adjacent, maybe Alaska is a place that's big enough for Bigfoot, for this other shapeshifter that they talk about.
Yeah.
We talk about the existence of skinwalkers, and are there overlaps of these cryptids? I don't know. I mean, I feel like I'm so new to all of this.
Me too.
I've always watched it from the outside with like that'd be cool if Bigfoot was real, or that'd be cool if that. Mm-hmm. And only with this show and with this community and talking it out have I actually been finally letting it creep into my reality that these things are real.
Yeah.
So then that just opens me up to everything else. Okay, well, if I accept that Bigfoot's real, well, I mean, what else is unseen? So I think there's a lot of Bigfoot adjacent things that they're experiencing. I don't know if it's humans or what, like, I mean, we'll get there, but
the skinwalker, like we had when I had oh man, I'm at a complete loss for names here. When I did the show with the Navajo Rangers, the former Navajo Rangers, and John and Stan, when I had that show with those guys on, and I tell you what, that show, I still say that's one of the best ones. All of them, all the ones that I've had guests on have been fantastic, and the guests have been wonderful. But that particular show was one where it was fascinating and disturbing all at the same time, because of the fact that these two guys go out and actually help the Navajo people, the Navajo Nation, with incidents of skinwalker, and the way that they described what a skinwalker is and what a person, a human, does to become a skinwalker is terrifying.
Yeah, it shook me.
Oh my gosh! I mean,
when you respect, and I know you respect them as much as I do, when you respect some people like that, and they tell you these things, and you know that they're not telling you a story, they're telling you what their reality is. And what Craig said, maybe they're all one and the same. Maybe they are. Like, we hear some wild stories with Skinwalker where it's, and then you think, well, why didn't somebody else see that? Well, maybe our brain is explaining it the best we can. So some people see a Bigfoot, some people see a wolf man or a dog man. I'm not sure. I like that idea that maybe they're all one and the same, or at least they're from the same sources behind all these different sightings. Because like the Navajo Rangers, they were Stan and John, they were saying that, I don't know if we talked about it with him, but in their Netflix show, they were talking about the connection between Bigfoot and UFOs.
Yeah.
what's that about?
Yeah.
I used to think Bigfoot, okay, there's this giant ape, that kind of has been in hiding since the Ice Age, and that's what it is. It's a giant ape that's, maybe a little bit smarter than most apes. I never expected that I would be in a place where I could, with a straight face, be like, oh, maybe it's a multi-dimensional thing. And they have all this, Mireya in this episode made a point about consciousness. And when they find, we'll get to the gravesite. It's just a wild and fascinatingly fun ride to go down.
And
how do you explain these things?
I don't know. I really don't. And like you said, if you listen to that little clip that I put out when we had that dinner at Phenomicon with the Skinwalker Ranch guys, and I asked him, I went out to Travis and I said, hey, is it okay if I use it? I mean, he knew I was filming it, and he just wanted to make sure that I wasn't going to cut it up and make it sound like he was saying something he wasn't. And I'm like, no, I don't do that. I will. It's verbatim. What you said is what's in the clip. That's it. I don't add anything to it. I don't cut anything out. I don't rearrange it. And so there was that clip of him talking about how he felt and it's kind of like what you were just saying, the fact that, maybe the phenomenon of Bigfoot or skinwalkers or whatever is something that our mind is reaching. We're seeing something that our mind can't comprehend or make sense of. And so your mind is trying to pull stuff from your memory to make up for what you're seeing. Is that possible? Yeah, sure. Why not? I mean, I can't. And I said during that, I can't say that I disagree with them on that. But the footprints. I mean, how do you get around the footprints like the one we're going to talk about tonight? So I don't know. It's an amazing ride to go down to look at all this stuff, and this is exactly why I'm doing this show on this stuff, because I'm using this for research. I want to know, and talking to the people that are involved in this, help me to understand at least how they look at it. And I don't know.
Yeah, and Renee made a kind of her thoughts about it perhaps being the same. She was saying she doesn't think they're the same, that there's a chosen sense of darkness in skinwalkers that aren't in the others. Yeah, and that's a great point. Like you were saying, the path that one takes to become a skinwalker is horrifying, and we should all do something for protection after this conversation, according to John and Stan. Prayers,
ritual prayer. Exactly.
I've ever since, that's one thing that they changed in me was, I guess been more intentional with how I practice my faith since that conversation.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But yeah, and it makes me wonder about like what makes this feel darker this season? Like, why is it different? Why does it feel more foreboding? It's not just the editing music. It's something that the cast is expressing. Is it Bigfoot that's this darkness, or is it something else? That
I don't know. I got a feeling it's something else, because there was a couple of quotes that were said by Bryce and who else? Ronnie, I think, had made these quotes during the show, and had made a comment about how they felt so uneasy here, that this place was just creeping them out.
And you got to trust those feelings when you get that.
Oh, absolutely. I'm not there, just watching it. I'm feeling it, so, and we'll jump into that a little bit, talking about the upside down trees. That's kind of the first step I wanted to talk about tonight, because Russell was out and he was doing some tracking. He was tracking these footprints and or marks in the ground. He didn't have actual footprints, but not that he could scan or whatever, but there were markings in the ground. And I apologize, I'm still under the weather a little bit. If you hear me sniff, I'm going to try to not be gross about it, but I'm sorry about that. But I apologize up front. But he was following this trail, and he found the third one that he found of an upside down tree. Small ones, granted. It was only sticking up out of the ground about 3 or 4 feet. But again, why these upside down trees?
Take some tension and a good amount of force to drive it down.
Yeah, and I know he's reluctant to pull one out of the ground to see, because I think we talked about this last week, because I wanted to see what's on the other end of it. Had it been sharpened with a point? Somebody took a hatchet and sharpened it, or is it just broke off and shoved in the ground? These are the small ones. I can see these being done easily by a person or a Bigfoot or whatever. Those big ones, not so much. You're going to need a piece of heavy equipment to do that. And I did want to share this. Marie Dumont, who was on our show last week with us, and she's a wonderful Bigfoot researcher in her own right, down in Florida. She's got the Mid-Florida Bigfoot Research Group down there. And she shared with me after the show, she sent me this link, and I put it in the description of the show here, about the upside down tree. There's a place where they have these in Canada, not Canada, but in Alaska. And I'm going to share this with you guys. Let's see if I can. I'm going to have to. Hang on just one second. I'm going to do this. I'm going to show this. Let's see. I should have had this one ready, but I had something else ready to go. Okay, so I'm going to share this screen now. This is their website, and it is the AlaskaFrontier.com, and it's the Legend of the Upside Down Tree Forest in Alaska. And it talks in here about, there's this, and there's some pictures in here. Here's one of them right here. I don't know how well you can see all that, but there's a bunch of upside down trees that now have all these flowers and foliage coming out of the top of them that they have planted in these things. There's one picture there. And then there's another one here. Look at these things. I mean, this is a regular attraction where people can go and see these. And it talks in here about how they came to be. Now it says the lore of Bigfoot, but I'm not going to go through and read this whole thing for you, but apparently these were actually created by a guy. The history, it talks about the history of it here. So maybe Bigfoot was not around when these flip-flop trees were created, but it talks about 1984, the Juneau landslide. Many trees were uprooted, and one of them, and one of the main streams in the area was destroyed. And then it talks about this guy, Steve Bauhay, who rebuilt the stream, and he damaged, some of his equipment was damaged, was rebuilding the stream. His equipment was damaged, and in frustration, he used a machine to pick up a tree and flip it upside down and jam it down into the mud. Now, apparently, but you guys can go and check this out for yourself. But this is an actual place where this forest, look at there. I mean, it's a nice little attraction.
It's really pretty.
Yeah. So you can go check it out for yourself. So is that a very uncommon thing in Alaska? Apparently not. So, you can, but why would they be here? They are out in the middle of nowhere. We know this area was used for logging. So did some of the loggers do that way back when?
I think we would have seen something when Pete scanned that one that he scanned with LiDAR. He said there was no signs of chains or a big claw grabbing it.
Right.
Loggers would have left evidence that LiDAR would have picked up, in my opinion.
Right.
But that's interesting that people have done that. Maybe that guy was inspired by something he saw out in the woods.
Exactly.
I could do that myself.
1984, and the logging that was taking place now, and as we go through the show tonight, the logging that was taking place out on this island, the Prince of Wales Island, which dates back a long time. And then now we know that now back into the 1940s and 50s and 60s. So the ones that Pete and them found, could they have been put in way back then? Is it possible? Yes. Would there be any telltale signs? There should be on the tree itself. There should be some signs still, but maybe not on the ground around it anymore. It would be washed away after all the winters and everything else. But anyway, something to think about. I wanted to share that with you guys.
Yeah,
And I thank Marie for sending that over to me. Well, here's somebody nice. I have some Bigfoot evidence of my own after camping in the Canadian wilderness. Footprints in the moss on the ground with a gait of 3 feet. I tried to jump up and down to make an impression and couldn't, I guess. Wow. That was Alex said that. That's very, very interesting because yeah, there's a lot of people that do have, and that's the thing that I keep saying about my experience. I have not had any experience, and I've been in the forest and doing a lot of stuff out there that I could say, wow, that was weird. I don't know why this is all of a sudden it's giving me these weird. Did you see that?
I did. You just
I don't know why that's
had an experience.
It's doing. I just had an experience right there. I don't know why it's going on here. I'm gonna have to figure out what that is and get it turned off. But when I do something like this, what is going on? Some new program that's in StreamYard or something that's making that happen. But anyway,
okay.
So I mean, I've not had any experience out in the woods where I could say, I think that was a Bigfoot. So but a lot of people have. A lot of credible people have. That's why we can't dismiss it completely. So, all right. So let's get back to this. So Russell was going along. He's following these tracks. He finds this upside down tree shoved into the water. And he went on to continue to follow it. And then he came across a cabin. And I'm going to play this clip. Okay, yeah, Alex, please do send them to my email. It's in the description of the show. You can just click on that, shoot them over. I'd love to see them. Yeah, please do. Anyone else that has anything like that too, I'd love to see what you got. So please feel free to use the email down in the description of the show tonight to send me anything you got on that because I'd love to see it. All right, so let me go with this clip. I'm going to show this clip here. And this is the one where Russell finds the cabin in the woods. And so check this out. Hopefully it's not too loud. I was trying to work with the sound and bring it up a little bit. So we'll play this here.
Look at this little thing. I'm following tracks from this upside down tree, and I find this cabin.
Now I had to cut this up into little segments.
I bet this is from the 40s or 50s. This is old. This is really old. It hasn't been used. It's a great way to stay dry and stay protected.
Yeah, stay dry and stay protected. Yeah, stay dry and stay protected. Not so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I tell you what, we don't know for sure because I know that cameraman did ask Russell, did you see it? Did you get eyes on it? And Russell said no, he didn't. But he said it was big. So and again, we weren't there. Russell and his cameraman. I don't know if they had an actual because they got bear guards, but I don't know if Russell had a bear guard with him. He never talked about that when he was on that. He was stranded on that island. Remember, they went across to that island when it was low tide because they were following something, and that's when they got stranded because of the tide came back in. They got stranded, and then they went looking for, they were following some footprints, taking advantage of the situation, found another upside down tree, and then that cabin, and it's like, oh my gosh. So
yeah, and it was a pretty loud noise that woke him up. And what did Russ say? It was like a piece of wood on the window frame that got pushed in. So like, I imagine someone was on that looking in, watching them sleep, and then maybe it like, and then whatever it was, darted away, and Russ woke up the way he did. I kudos to that camera, Zach. That's the new cameraman's name.
No, Ryan is that guy.
Ryan.
This one's Ryan. Yeah, Zach is his
yeah.
regular one.
Zach's regular. Yeah, Ryan's definitely earning his stripes, I guess is what you would say. Because what an experience to be following Russell through this Alaskan wilderness and to have yeah.
I know, and that's the thing.
We gotta go.
Oh, get out of here! Grab your stuff. Let's go! Head for the door. And Russ thought,
you don't know if it's a bear, if it's Bigfoot.
Well, and exactly, because Russ, they originally went in there thinking, okay, we got nice, warm, dry place, or not warm, but we're out of the weather, we're out of the elements. We can rest in here and get a little bit of sleep, and in the morning we can move on. But then when he woke up after he had taken a piece of wood and he put it up in that window because there was one of the panes was knocked out. So he put up a piece of wood in the window to keep the cold air from coming in. And that's what got knocked inward and fell on the ground. But he said it wasn't just that piece of wood. Something hit the wall and that piece of wood fell in. And that's when he grabbed it and they got the heck out of there. Because if you think about it, Bigfoot, or a bear or any other thing came in the doorway of that cabin, you're stuck. You're stuck in there. You're trapped. You got no way out except through that door that now this thing is in between you. It's in between you and the door. So you're trapped. And Russell's like, let's get out of here. I'd feel much better being out in the woods, leaning up against a tree where he's got somewhere to go.
Open.
I mean, that's not I don't know. More creepiness to this whole thing, but yeah, so something big definitely came up to the cabin, woke him up like that, and up they jumped and had to get out of there quickly. So I don't know, that's definitely something to all right, now I got to get this. I'm going to bring up another one here. Let's see now. So next on this thing, well, we got Ronny and Mireya. They're out there looking for the source of the sounds. Now, remember last week they had put those sound microphones. They put them up in these different trees and stuff, and then they had the software to be able to listen to each of them. Picking up the sound from each of them. They were motion and sound activated. And then by using that little software and the handheld that they had, they could triangulate and find out where the sound was coming from. And then they could go look for it. So that's what they were doing. They heard that howl at the very end of the show last week. They heard that sound. And then so they were heading out to see what they could find. And I'm going to try to. Okay, so I got to. Okay, there we go.
The screaming babies in the middle of the woods that they were hearing.
Oops. Okay. This is not working the way I wanted it to here. Let's see. Trying to get this. Yeah, the screaming. That's what they ended up hearing was something that sounded like a screaming baby. Now, remember what we've heard about that before.
Right, like bobcats and other animals it could be.
And they have also said that Bigfoot supposedly can imitate the sound of a screaming baby.
Yeah, the ones in the Sierra sounds that they recorded. I feel like I've listened to those, and maybe there's some screaming in them.
Okay, how do I get rid of this thing now? Okay. I'm trying to get this window to go away so I can bring the other one up. There we go. All right, so I've got this one here that I want to share with you. And now I got to get it saved here and share this one. And this one is Mireya and Ronny as they're searching. Now, I want to listen to this one at the very beginning also, because there is a sound Well, I repeat it several times at the end of this clip. There's a couple of clips in this, they're all put together, but at the very end of it, I got a little repeating portion of it so you can hear right here in this very first one. The first thing she hears before the sound is like something fleeing or running away from them. And you'll hear it. It's the first thing you'll hear, besides the weird music, which I wish they would stop doing that. But check this out and see what you think of this. Right there.
What was that? Hey.
Did you hear that?
Yeah, it sounds like percussion, part of the music.
Yeah,
like you said.
I thought it was, but yeah,
that was the noise she heard, like branches breaking.
Yeah, like something was fleeing away from them real quick. It got startled and was running away from where they were, and they didn't have any night vision with them at the moment. But I mean, so yeah, I'm gonna play this again. This time I'm gonna let it roll. But you hear that little, it sounded like a cat or something, or a baby, or I don't know. But yeah, I'm gonna let this roll this time.
What was that? Hey.
Okay, it's gonna continue here.
It sounded like a crying baby, or seriously, like a wailing goat.
That's what I would say, like a wailing goat.
Wailing goat.
I'm absolutely convinced that we're dealing with a Sasquatch right now.
Ronnie?
One of two things are happening. Either the Bigfoot is trying to lure us deeper into the forest, or we're hearing a Bigfoot feeding on something.
Or feeding on something.
So it's luring them into the forest, or it's feeding on something. I wonder why he thinks it's feeding on something.
Yeah. Well, it would have been something that was screaming because it's being.
Oh, the scream is the Bigfoot feeding on.
It would be the thing that it's feeding on. It was, or killing, that was making the screaming, like a stranded animal, or like a deer that's being. Yeah, Pete said a deer. Squirrels can make a sound like water
rabbits. I've heard rabbits scream before.
I mean, if you're in the woods and you hear a sound like that, I mean. And you're already creeped out because of some of the things you've seen and heard and everything already, and then this comes up. Now here's the portion where I've repeated that sound at the beginning. It's going to repeat quickly like 5 times, but I did it just so you guys could hear it, and I want to hear what you think about this. So here we go. We're going to play this. So like I said, it repeats quickly 5 times. So I don't know. I mean, again, it sounds like something's running away, or fleeing in some way, and and it's making that weird sound. So
yeah, it could be kind of to lure, like, if it is a Bigfoot or something, another animal luring them away from its nest or something. I know, like, birds behave that way. Hey, over here, I'm over here, to draw a predator away from their nest. I don't know what a lot of people in the chat are saying, like how loud small animals can sound in the woods at night. Squirrels sound loud, and if there's leaves on the ground, I'll be camping here in Texas, and I'll hear something. I think, oh my God, there's a huge person stomping around in the leaves outside my tent, and I'll get the flashlight, and it's an armadillo just digging around. But they sound to where I'm convinced it's someone is outside my tent. So yeah, it's really easy to just get spooked in the woods at night.
Yeah, typical Ronnie. I like Eva said typical Ronnie. I'm sure we're dealing with a Bigfoot here.
Absolutely sure.
I had to leave that clip in there for that.
I think I would be that way too if I had a legit experience, or if I think I'd be that way too, where I would want it. I think Ronnie really wants everything to be Bigfoot, maybe. I don't know. I am that way as well. I can identify with Ronnie's excitement and emotional attachment to the outcome. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, it does. Linda said, that very suspect of the sounds of the show. Maybe the baby sound was added to. I don't think so, Linda. I have to say, just because I've met them, and again, this is my own thinking here. When you talk about, especially somebody like Dr. Mireya Mayor, who is a cryptozoologist, she is a primatologist. And she is putting her reputation on the line to even be on the show, let alone being out there and actually investigating this. I don't think with her background, and I've listened to her presentation before, that she would stay with the show if they were adding things to it. Because they watch this. They do watch the show. Now, unlike some of the guys that like Skinwalker or maybe even over at Curse of Oak Island, they actually don't watch the show. A lot of them don't. I don't think they're going to make it up. I really don't. So I don't think they would stay with the show if they were adding stuff to it that they did not hear. So that's the reason why I say that. So
yeah, I'm with you 100%. I do wish they would give us like more, like maybe when they show us the scenes that go to Bryce, where he's like, okay, let's analyze this sound and break it down and give us more separation from the background music of dun dun dun.
Yes.
Boom,
Yeah.
It's cool in the moment we're in the woods, but I do crave that, like, okay, just give me the dry, what happened, what did you hear?
Yeah, and Linda kind of qualified herself by saying that that's not exactly what she meant to say, but was the sound what they heard exactly what we are hearing. That but again,
right, because you could add reverb or let's even compression will change
exactly
what we're hearing.
And that's possible. That I can't say. You're right, Linda. In that respect, yes, you could be correct on that. But again, Christy agrees with me on the fact that she's, was able to talk with them and think they're very legit. Same thing. But I just think that they are. I believe that they are very legitimate people. And I've said before, Ronny, and we talked about Ronny and Ronny has done a lot of Bigfoot research over the years, a lot. And he is, he knows what he's talking about, and so I'm not going to discredit him in any way, because he believes exactly what he's saying. He's not doing it for TV props. He believes what he's saying on the show. So
I think you need, in my opinion, I'm a woo thinker, and Bigfoot, like we were saying, it touches up, it's adjacent to UFOs and other cryptids, and you hear stories of them communicating with telepathy. The remote viewer said that they were aware of being viewed. So there's a consciousness aspect to it that I'm so grateful for Ronny bringing that view bringing that view to the team. And that's what I love about this show, is that you got 3 very distinct ways to look at the Bigfoot issue, and they're all super respectful of one another.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I love it. And I don't think, I'm with you, I don't think a single one of them would stay on the show if they felt like the show was adding things that didn't actually happen.
Correct.
Yeah.
So here's the next one. Now, the guys went on, when Ronny and Mireya were continuing their search, they came across another interesting thing. Okay, thanks, Alex. I'll check that here in just a bit after the show. Appreciate your sending that, by the way. This is a clip of where they came across another strange thing in the woods, and it looked like it was a grave marker of some sort. They had switched over their cameras over to the red. Their lights over to the red. So here, I'm going to play this one, and this is the clip of them finding the grave marker, which again was kind of an unusual thing to find on an island out there. But again, we don't know. Again, I don't know how much habitation. I'm assuming not much habitation on this island, other than maybe logging happening in the past. But obviously, there was some sort of homestead going on there with Russell finding that cabin. So I don't know. But I'm going to play this one here, and we'll see what you think of this.
What's up?
Okay, that's going to continue when they look at it closer.
1943.
1943 to 1955.
12 years old. Holy man.
Yeah.
They got to beep Ronnie out a lot. That's for sure.
Yeah. 1940. Yeah, they do.
Beep.
Yeah,
Holy
1943 to
beep.
1955. So a young person, 12 years old, passed away. So we know that there was someone probably living there. I mean, why else would a 12-year-old be there unless he was hanging out with, dad? But dad would have taken the, dad was logging or something. But he would have they would have taken the body back. You would think. So somebody was living there. And then Russell had said when he found the cabin that he figured it was from the 50s or 60s.
Yeah.
So there you
Same
go.
time as this.
So we know that there was someone there in 1955 and buried a 12-year-old boy. That was another thing to find. So again, I go back to this whole thing about there was somebody there. There was, so I was going to say, talking about some of the tree structures and things that they found.
Yeah, I thought it was really at this moment, Mireya, Dr. Mayor, she brought up, I forget the exact words, but it was how she said something about how Bigfoots are attracted to like these areas with like emotional consciousness sort of activity, hot spots. And she was like, maybe this lends to that idea. I wish I would have written down the exact quote, but it impressed me because I thought, whoa, like that's a woo-woo sort of thing, I would think, for the doctor to be kind of entertaining that idea. And if that is the case, that they are attracted to these hot spots of activity, that are connected to grave sites. Like, why? What is it about it that they are attracted to? And if they're multidimensional, is it like, do they feed off of that? Like some entities feed off of like human emotion, or I don't know what. Like it just, that little comment sent me down a whole like, what could that? Why? Anyways,
I know, me too.
If anybody else has thoughts about that.
No, because Ronnie said that because this is what, this is John said this is the second time that they found children's graves on this show. Not this particular in Alaska, but they did. I forget. Was it California? I forget where it was, where they found another, like a small graveyard that had several children's graves in it. And so. Yeah. So I don't know. Was that Oregon where they did that? 2019. Yeah. So yeah, people. Yeah. And that's true. That's the thing. People that live in the, who buries children in the woods. Yeah.
Yeah.
More like, yeah. So I would have to think it would have been somebody that might've been living in that cabin, or there may have been other cabins around where people were living out there.
Was that headstone wood or?
Yes.
It was wood.
Well, from what I could tell, yes. Yeah. And obviously we couldn't read it. I couldn't read a thing on it, but they could. They were actually reading it. That's where they got the date. And they had the name, I guess, too, but they didn't say it on the show.
No.
But they did talk about it, that it was 12 years old. And, they figured out that by the dates, but 1943 to 1955, so 12 years old. So
yeah, why would a Bigfoot be attracted to a human?
I don't know.
Site?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, hard to say on that one. But another weird thing to find out there. So in the next clip, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just gonna say, like, I wonder if there's Bigfoot sightings around like old battlefields, like here in the like Civil War sites and stuff. I wonder if there's like any sort of increased activity around, because you hear about like Gettysburg, about like ghost activity. I wonder if there's like also increased just other paranormal stuff. Because maybe, I don't know. Sorry. Go ahead, Jeff. My apologies.
There he goes again. No, just teasing you. I agree with you. I don't know. That's interesting. I think we've watched too many of those sci-fi shows where they talk about some kind of weird entity that thrives off of human anger or human fears and things like that, and they feed off from it or something. I don't know. Who's to say? But I know I've seen a lot of stuff like that. All right, I've got another one here that I'm going to share. Now, this is interesting because Bryce, now remember, he went out with a gentleman by the name of Jeffrey. And Jeffrey says that he was out there one time. He shared a story where they had a camper trailer, apparently. And they were out on this island with this, how they got it out there. I don't know, took it out on a boat or something. I'm not really sure. But he had this camper trailer, and they said they were out there on, in the woods in this thing. They were sleeping, woke up to the sound of something scratching like nails or something down the side of it. Very, very loud. Freaked them all out. And that was it. They packed up and got the heck out of there. They were done. They were not going to hang around with that anymore. So Bryce goes out to check out this site, and lo and behold, he comes across something too. While he was looking around, he heard a sound. I didn't get a clip of the sound that he heard, but he also heard what sounded like some kind of a thing crying or an animal in distress of some sort. And then he found this little structure that, again, I'll play it, and then we'll talk about it here in just a moment. So let's play this clip real quick. This freaked me out.
Look at this. This is all just connected and woven together.
Looking at these tree structures, I can tell that they were built with intelligence and design. But knowing that this is the same area where Jeffrey had his encounter, tells me that there's something significant about this place.
I just got the most uneasy feeling just looking at this thing.
Yeah, uneasy feeling just looking at this thing. I mean, Blair Witch, man, I'm telling you, I have to say, folks, I want to know what you all think of this. We saw the other stuff. We saw the other tree structures that we found that looked like lattice work of things put together. Then we saw what was on there from last week, 2 weeks ago, where Russell found the one that was like a goat's head. It was a piece of wood, a stump that was like a goat's head with the horn sticking out. And then it had all the sticks around it stuck in the ground. Then the next week he's out there checking it out, and the thing was cold one moment, and a second later it was hot on the nose area of it, like something had reached over and touched it for a moment while he wasn't looking, and it got hot. And now this one. And yeah, very Blair Witch. I'm not going to say that to me, it screams somebody's out there doing some ritualistic stuff rather than a Bigfoot type thing. I don't know. That's what it says to me, but I don't know that I would. I think I'd be ready to wrap it up and get the heck out of there. Because if that's out there, that means whoever was doing that kind of stuff may come back, and who knows what they're up to. I don't know. What's your thoughts on it? I want to know what everybody in the chat, what you guys think of that. Those different structures that have been found that look like some sort of weird ritualistic type place.
Yeah, this doesn't feel like the upside down trees, I think, could still be Bigfoot. But these structures, the one with the goat, this one, they don't remind me of the big, huge balancing ones that we know that I think are Bigfoot that they've seen before. This feels like human made to me. Mm-hmm. And if it is human made, like I think Renee said, like bushcraft. I watch a lot of YouTubers that bushcraft, and like they don't do like weird goat stuff like this. So they're bushcrafters with I mean, I agree with her. It's people will practice and build structures like this, but I don't. there's a feeling. I have an emotional reaction to seeing them, and we all know I'm an emotional person. But there's something, like you said, I think I'm with you. I think there's some ritualistic things, like we were talking earlier about what humans do to walk the skinwalker path. Are they stumbling upon something that humans do to maybe connect with this shapeshifter that their
Maybe
guy is warning them
that's
about?
a good thought. I hadn't thought of that. That's a good point. Yeah.
Maybe there's a group of people that worship and give offerings to this creature. I don't know. Those are my thoughts, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do make me. I lean towards human.
Mhm.
And if I'm thinking, okay, well, if it's humans, are they kids playing in the woods? No, I don't think these structures are kids. And if it's adults, is it somebody pranking? No, I don't think that. It's like you take one thing and you're like, oh, that's this, but then you stack them, all on top of each other. The heat signature on the goat head when Russell's standing right there.
That's
how does that happen?
I don't know. That's crazy.
So yeah, I think it's humans, and I think it's doesn't feel like there's good intention behind it.
Yeah. And how could something have reached over and touched that? Because Russell wasn't that far from it. He was pretty close to that thing, that goat head carving or wood piece. That I think it was a piece of wood, a piece of stump that somebody found and was able to clean it up and make it look like a natural, but make it look like a goat head, and mounted it in the ground on and then
maybe
stuck all those sticks around it. So
just an artsy person in the woods.
But why would you make something so creepy like a Blair Witch type of I don't know.
I like what Morris said. Were there any human personal items left in the area of these structures? I mean, we know that Bryce found clothes and keys, and he told us in this episode he gave it to the authorities, or maybe that was last episode.
Yeah, it was last week. Yep.
But yeah, that was kind of my thought too. As Bryce found that structure, I wanted to know, like, kind of what's the surrounding area look like? Are you finding, signs of like a camp? Maybe it's like a hangout for teenagers or campers. I don't know. Heat signature from a rodent, maybe.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm just to me it screams get the heck out of there, because could it be teenagers out having fun or messing around? Sure, I guess it could be, but that's an awful long way to go to mess around. And I don't know how far from actual habitation, a town or whatever this is. Unfortunately, I've not looked up to see exactly where they are. I mean, they're on an island, and there are several other little islands around there. But anyway, that just kind of, I don't know, that just kind of freaks me out. And you hear them talking about the uneasy feeling they have. I just I don't know. I don't know what to make.
Yeah, I mean, they're out there with armed bear guards. So if it is kids, I hope those kids are packing. Like if Ronnie and Mireya have to be out there with, I'm sure these guys are carrying big guns.
Yeah. The bear guards are for sure.
Yeah. I feel like there'd be more signs of, like, if it was kids, I think there'd be more signs of like other, stuff that you used to do in the woods as a kid. There'd be like a little fire ring. There'd be an area where, I'd be sharpening my sticks with my friends and like making little weapons.
Yeah. I would definitely go back in the daytime and look around at these things, and maybe they did and they just didn't film it. We know there's so much more that gets filmed that we don't ever see. So, but like Renee says, those people would leave stuff around on the ground. There would be some sort of evidence that they left behind something, a wrapper or a bottle or a beer bottle, whatever.
I'll keep a trash bag on a hike for picking up trash. Well, you'll be backpacking.
I would be looking at the daylight.
Find trash.
Yeah. So
the daylight. I wish we saw more daylight shots
of these things. Yeah.
All
right. So I'm going to move along here. The next thing, and again, we go back to the tech. I love the tech that these guys bring to bear on this stuff. And Russell had used these trackers before in California, And here he is with trackers again. And this time he put out quite a few of them. And he put them all over. I guess there was quite a few. I'm going to play this clip as soon as I get it loaded up here. But so he had 18, I think they said something like 18 different trackers that he had with him. And let's see here. All right, so, and I'm gonna play this clip as soon as I get it here. And some of them, 2 of them got picked up that they showed. One of them, oh man, I'm sorry, folks. I got to figure out what's causing that. I got to.
What did you do?
Off. It's so
You did
annoying.
too?
I don't know what I did there to cause that, but put a thumbs up. See if it's doing it to you. Nope, apparently not.
Darn.
I don't know. I got to figure this out. All right. So this clip here shows this is a
Happy
Russell.
birthday, Jeff.
Yeah, happy birthday. Woo, yeah.
You got fireworks, balloons. I like the special effects you're bringing to tonight's episode. I
know, right? Okay. Anyway, we're going to move along. I'm losing it here. All right. So this clip is of Russell and the trackers, and we'll check this out. And I want to get your thoughts on it as well.
I'm placing trackers along the trails. These things will attach themselves to anything passing by that has hair, and I can track its movement and location.
And this continues.
These things move, and I will get an alert. And if I'm within 1,000 yards of this tracker, I can pinpoint that thing down to a 5-foot section.
Pretty cool.
Russell has placed 18 trackers at varying heights throughout the forest, in between the island and the abandoned mine.
Where's my tracker? It's not here. Something grabbed the tracker. When I come to my first location, the tracker is gone. This tracker's moving. The only thing I'm finding on the ground are wolf tracks. Look at that.
From the first one, he found nothing but wolf tracks.
See how big these tracks are? Do you see how heavy that sunk in the mud?
A big wolf. And he opted not to continue looking for it. Then he gets the second one. Here's moving.
We've got another tracker on the move. That's within 1,000 yards.
And then he goes to find out where it was from.
This is the tallest one I put up.
Look how high in the tree that is.
This was almost eye level to me. A bear wouldn't have picked that up. A deer wouldn't have picked that up. Something as tall as a man, 6 feet or taller, picked up my tracker.
Yeah. Something as tall as him picked up his tracker. And then he ended up going and following it and tracking it. And they hoofed it through the woods and then into the night, tracking this thing or trying to track it.
Mm-hmm.
And they came across to the water's edge, to the coast right there.
Yeah, and he was talking about how it was the closest point you could get on the island to get to the mainland if you were going to cross or try and swim across.
Right. And that was his. I mean, he followed it, and he said it was heading in a straight line for the coast. And like it knew,
too.
Yeah, and like it knew that he was following, and then he got to the water and it was gone, absolutely gone. Now, if he got into the water with it, and again, I don't know anything about these trackers.
I was wondering that too.
Did it ruin the tracker? Did the water get in it and ruin it? And now it's not working anymore. So that would stop. I don't know. Right.
That's a good idea. Maybe a moose. Are there moose on this island?
Yeah. I don't know. That's a good question. A moose is very tall. A moose would. I mean, you would. Oh. Oh, Jan said, yeah, if you get a horse face, I'm leaving. I don't know how I would get that, but the peace sign, does that do anything? Oh yeah, that was what. Yeah, there you go with the balloons. A baby Bigfoot, a big moose. Yeah.
No.
See, it's not doing it for you. I don't
Maybe
know.
it's my cool background.
It is. Yeah, that's what I need. I need that cool background. Then it wouldn't do it. Maybe a hunter, maybe. I don't know. But and it goes back to and I'm going to get into this. The last clip that I have, Big Brother's watching me. Well, I think Big Brother's watching all of us. Anybody that has a cell phone. Yeah. So the last clip that I have kind of takes this a little bit further. This is the one where where Bryce is analyzing a couple of different things. He's analyzing the clip from that they got from the trail cam of the movement that went by Big Brother Bigfoot. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that brings up a connection of why does the government seem to protect Bigfoot habitat or right where? Because last season they kept being like, "Oh, the government's about to turn this area into a park," and I had never until that show made the connection of like, "Oh, are certain parts of the government trying to keep the general public from becoming aware of Bigfoot?" And then you hear stories of them entering military bases, and then they were trying to find those underground bunkers. So anyway, sorry.
No, you're right.
Totally.
There was a manual that was, and I forget, somebody showed me this manual. I think Mike Owen was talking about this. There was a manual that was written for the government years back in like the 40s or 50s, and it had a thing in there about Bigfoot in the manual, that what you would do if you come across a Bigfoot in the manual. Why would they have even written that in there in the first place? Unless they had some sort of solid evidence that this thing existed, right? So, I mean, and it was a government manual. I forget what it was. Was it the Forest Service or I forget what it was. I'll have to ask Mike about that next time we get together. But so a moose can be as big as about 6 foot to his back. The big ones can be. They're very big. The Forest Service manual, Eva says. Thank you, Eva. Yeah, and it had a thing in there about, to the shoulder, Tom said. Yeah, the big bulls can be massive. Yep. Yeah, to the shoulders, exactly. So if a moose went through there, it would definitely pick up that tracker. But I think there would have been more markings on the ground that he would have been able to see, I would think. I don't know. You would think about the footprints that we're going to be getting to next, talking about footprints. So, but yeah, a moose, that's a good point. I hadn't thought about that before, but yeah, there's moose up there. And a moose could definitely be tall enough to pick up that tracker 6 feet off the ground.
Have you seen those videos online of people trying to pet moose, people that aren't familiar with wildlife? And it's like what you see when they, want to go out and pet a bison and they get.
Yeah. There's signs. When I was in Yellowstone, there's signs. Do not pet the big hairy cows.
Yeah. Don't get out of your car. Oh yeah. Moose. They terrify me.
When I saw them, when they were close to the road, and we did find some that were very close to the road, I did not get out of the car. I took a lot of pictures, but I didn't get out of the car.
Yeah,
you don't walk over and try to pet them or get a selfie with it.
Yeah. So maybe that's what the forestry manuals should say for for
don't
modern
get a
times.
Selfie with Bigfoot.
Don't get a selfie with Bigfoot. Stay in your vehicle.
Yes, avoid the moose at all costs. Yes.
I agree, Tom.
I would not mess with the moose in the woods. Yes, and I have seen a moose in the woods, and I would not mess with the moose in the woods. Stay far away from them. They can be very aggressive. Yeah, exactly. Sharon Edwards said Yellowstone bison are nothing to mess with. You're exactly right. They're huge. They are very, very big. Just got to see those when I was out there out west this past September. So, all right, I'm going to show this last clip that I have. Let's see if as soon as I get this ready here. This one is is Bryce, and he's analyzing two things: the trail cam clip from last week that Ronny and Dr. Mireya Mayor had with the hairy thing that went by. And then he analyzes the footprint that they had scanned with their handheld scanner. So let's I'm going to go ahead and share this and then we'll play it. One of the things that he talks about in this is that he talks about the trail cam clip, and he said something about maybe it was a bear. Two things I have against that idea, and I'll run it first, and then we'll talk about it real briefly. This is the first part of this clip. Is the
right here, you see something cross the camera. It just happens so fast, of what appears to be something large running by.
okay, and then he says, maybe a bear or something just after that. But look at that picture. Now, a couple of things that I have against it being a bear. One is, if this is hair, which I think it is, we're seeing in this picture, the hair is too long for a bear.
Yes, I agree.
Okay. The second, now it is night vision, so whatever's black is going to show up white and vice versa. So it's black hair on this dark hair that's on this thing, whatever it is. But if you remember how high off the ground this particular cam was.
And if it's running by, what part of the body are we seeing? It's leg?
Exactly.
Because then, well, how tall is this thing?
Exactly.
Or if it's a back of its head?
Because remember when Mireya, when she had to walk up and get right up next to the tree, because it kind of sloped up to the tree and it was a sharp incline up to the roots of the tree. She had to get right up there so she could reach the trail cam above her, take the SD card out of it, right? And then when she was analyzing it, she took the SD card out of it to take it to Bryce. So, and then when she stepped one little step away, she was already like 1.5 feet below the camera. She stepped another small step away. She was 2.5 feet below the cam. And she's not a short woman. So it had to be, if it walked by, and it looks like it's very close right there. I mean, that thing has to be over 6 feet tall, whatever that is right there. That's not a bear, in my opinion. And the hair is too long. What do you guys think about that? The fur is too long for a grizzly. For that time of year. That was Renee. Moss? Pete says moss. Pete?
It's a guy in a moss ghillie suit walking by.
Oh, well, maybe. Yeah. Could it have been somebody messing with them? Pete says, I got treed by a moose once. I think a moose would be very noisy. So what do you guys think of this thing? I don't know. And again, it's one of those ones that leaves you with a question. In my mind, it leaves me with a question because I don't think it's a bear. I don't think it's a moose. It's not a deer. The hair is too long. It's too tall. But then again, what is it? Possibly a bear or Bigfoot, Linda says. I don't know. So anyway, that's the analysis that we got from that. And I think when I hit play here again, you'll hear Bryce saying something about a bear. But I really just don't think it is. I don't think it's a bear. If it was a bear, he would have to been standing on, 2 feet, walking on 2 feet on his hind legs. No, he didn't say it, but that's what he said in the clip.
But this, on the other hand, really intrigues me. This is an incredible 3D scan of a footprint that Ronny and Mireya captured.
This thing is
a lot of
awesome.
times, people will mistake a bear's double step for a Bigfoot footprint. A double step is when a bear's hind leg steps into the same exact track as its front leg.
Thereby making it a larger print.
So you get about approximately 16 inches. For the most part, these look almost identical.
Almost identical. Now, this is what I used for the thumbnail on tonight's show because this is intriguing. Really,
it's so cool how they can just scan it and not have to do a cast.
Right. Yeah, they scanned this thing, and with that 3D scanner, and they put it up. The one on the left is actually the one that I think Russell had found, or no, they had found and they had scanned it before. I think Russell found this one in California. And then this one on the right in the red is the one that they scanned last week with the 3D scanner, the handheld scanner. And remember how we were looking at it last week and we were trying to look at it and go, I couldn't see a footprint in it. I was like, what in the heck are they seeing? They're talking about the toes and everything else. I couldn't see it. I can definitely see it now.
Yeah.
And I have a better still picture of this too that I'll bring up here in just a moment. But okay, so you take all the other stuff out of the picture here, you know, the hair and everything else. And, you know, people's minds making up what they think they're seeing. But what's going to cause a footprint like this? And like I said, I got a better picture of it that comes up here.
Let's actually take a look at how wide this foot is.
Yeah, it's 16 and a half inches long.
About 6.5.
And 6.5 inches wide.
Which guess what? So is this one.
He was kind of speculating that maybe the two were the same Bigfoot. Or the big same, whatever it was the same thing that made the print.
That's interesting. I think eventually, if not already, they could find some details to be able to identify them. I remember learning about humpback whales and how they identify them with the unique way they're like the pattern on their tails.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So like maybe there's something about a Bigfoot that each Bigfoot has a unique identifier, like our, you know, thumbprints and stuff. Yeah, I'm not sure if it's the same individual. I'm with Eva on that, but
yeah, I don't know about that. He was talking about the migration going all the way from California, Northern California to Alaska and back. But here's that footprint. And when you look at this, you see that there's definitely a heel depression in this. When he rotates it, you really get a better look at that depression.
Yeah. So I don't think it's a bear double step.
Nope.
So it's either the real deal, the real McCoy, or it's a huge dude walking barefoot
in Alaska. In the woods.
And we're talking huge, you know, not only does he have a huge footprint, he's heavy enough to push down into the earth to leave this print.
Yeah. 16 inches long and 6.5 inches wide. I mean, that's Shaquille O'Neal.
Yeah, you know? I was just about to say the NBA needs to be send some recruiters up here.
And you can see the ball of the foot here making a deepened depression in here. So as the heel went in and then the push off with the ball of the foot, the toes, I would have thought it would have made a deeper impression. They did make an impression in the mud, but that ball of the foot is deep. That's the deepest portion. I think the heel and the ball right in here were the deepest portions of the print. But again, you know, you go back to that same thing again, where it's not a bear double step. And if you toss everything out, saying none of the other stuff that they've seen or heard have anything to do with Bigfoot, why the prints? Is it somebody messing with them? And if they did a fantastic job with this. So I don't know. It was another good show, and I just I don't know what to make of this. It's one of those things that, and this is the thing that Dr. Travis Taylor, you know, he mentioned when he was talking about our minds making things up in our brains, trying to come up with an answer to some kind of phenomenon that we're seeing that is not an animal or anything. Like, you know, he talked about the smoking guys, the guys that had dog heads or whatever, and then they turned around, they were gone. Or the thing that looked like a Bigfoot crossing the road, and then it turned into like a cube and then disappeared. And then our minds trying to make up something to compensate for that, to explain what you just saw. Then how do you explain the prints?
Yeah, because the scanner isn't having to, you know, bend its reality to, you know.
No,
accommodate
the
what
scanner's
it's
not
seeing.
trying to make it up.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. My takeaway is, Jeff, that Bigfoot's real, and they got a print of it right here.
Yeah.
You know, like that's if I
Moose Malone. That's pretty funny.
yeah.
Moose Malone. Oh, what did Kat say? It's not a barefoot.
Yeah, it's not a
It's
barefoot.
a
It's a
barefoot.
barefoot.
A
big
big barefoot.
Yeah.
That's good, Kat. Yeah, we're gonna have some fun next week, aren't we? Yeah, I don't know. This is 18. Yeah, I mean, there you go. Carolyn's got a thing here. Google largest human feet. The record for the biggest feet goes to Robert Wadlow, who wore a 37 AA shoe. His feet measured 18 and a half inches. So, and he was 8 foot tall, 11 inches. Okay, was he running around in the? Well, I mean, that's not to say that there isn't somebody like that running around barefoot in the wilderness of Alaska, but I kind of doubt it. But yeah, I don't know. That's the part of this that really just kind of reaches out to me, because you know, you can explain away so much of it, the sounds, you know, but people have reported seeing this. Credible people have reported seeing a Bigfoot. I have not ever seen anything that I could say was a Bigfoot. I've never even seen tracks that I could say was a print like this one here on the screen, but I don't know. I can barely keep a straight face. Oh, you guys are funny.
What I guess you're not a good person to ask this because you're still on the fence.
Yeah. I hate to say, yeah.
Whenever people's, you know, if I ever, it happens a lot when, you know, Bigfoot gets brought up around me and I start talking about it, and there'll be someone or everyone that will go, oh, Bigfoot's not real. There's no such thing as Bigfoot. And I'm always curious, like, what, for those of us who believe in it or are open to the idea of it, like kind of what your response is. You know, for me, my go-to is, well, what do you think people are seeing? Do you think everybody's a liar? Like what, all the Native American groups, the old trappers that talk to Teddy Roosevelt about these things, the people who are reliving trauma when they recount their sighting, what are they experiencing? Everybody's just going through what Dr. Travis said, and everybody just happens to stumble upon this same description. Like so many people have talked about how they didn't even know what to call their sighting until, you know, we started to see these things on TV, and, you know, people go, oh, Bigfoot, that's what we saw back in the mountains, or that's what my grandpa saw. We always called it Monkey Man or whatever. You know, you hear a lot of these stories. So I guess my question is, you know, to the audience, is it, for me, it's the human element. I always point to, well, what are people experiencing? For some people, it's the data, right? Of like, well, you know, here we've got these scans. Is there something that you point to when people, someone very skeptical, or maybe not even skeptical, but just outright dismissive of it? Because a lot of people are dismissive of this topic.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. There are. Yeah, that's for sure. You know, and I'm sorry, but I'm part of a lot of different Bigfoot Facebook groups. And I go and I read the stuff and I look at the pictures. And honestly, I hate to say this, but I'm going to say it. I've said it before on the air, and I'll say it again, that if you have a picture of the woods and you've got a red circle around it and you're showing, hey, right there, what do you guys make of that? I don't see anything. And if you got to put a circle around it, and I'm looking in that circle and I still don't see anything that you're calling a Bigfoot. Now, I wasn't there with you. If you were in the woods and you saw something moving over there and you took a picture of it, and now you're circling, this is where I saw something moving. Okay, now I wasn't there with you to see it moving, but I'm looking at this photograph with a red circle around it, and all I'm seeing is a little dark shaded area.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, that's not evidence to me. I'm sorry, it just isn't.
No, I mean, there's a lot of us, whether you're Bigfooting or doing ghost hunts, there's a lot of that where we want to see. There's that scientific word for it too, where you're in nature, you're pareidolia. I don't know what the word is, guys, but where you're putting human attributes to a shape you see in the woods, or I feel like that happens a lot when you're looking for Bigfoot or a ghost. You'll see, or an orb. Everything. To a lot of people, they'll make that jump. When I did ghost tours, I saw it all the time, and I was with you, where a lot of times I would politely be like, "Oh, well, maybe you got something, maybe you didn't." But there would be every so often pareidolia. Yeah, thank you. Every so often there'd be someone would come up and go, "Hey, what do you think of this?" And it's like you said, they didn't need to point or circle it. It's boom, it's right there. It's like something like this. I've had those experiences with orbs and faces. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff out there that's not compelling, but then there's the stuff that is, and I think that's what drives us all to search for it. And
yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
it drives me. That's why I still look into it. I mean, I'm like I've always said that I'm a skeptic on this, or I need more data. I need like Dr. Mireya Mayor says, I need more data.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to throw the idea out the window and say no, it doesn't exist, because there's just too much out there, like you just described, and like Jay Paul right here. I don't know Jay, but he says I saw a Bigfoot in the woods at night by a lake with cottage lights shining behind him, 10 feet away from me. I ran back to the camp and hid in my sleeping bag, scared half to death. I'd still run. I can't tell Jay he's full of crap because I don't know. I wasn't there. He saw something that scared the heck out of him. What did he see? I don't know. But he says it was a Bigfoot. I can't, or I'm saying he. I'm sorry, Jay. I don't know if you're a he or not, but I'm sorry for doing that. But I don't know what you saw. And if you saw a Bigfoot, then I can't say you're wrong.
Yeah,
yes, he.
I almost I almost believe the stories that don't have the pictures more. Like Jay, he didn't.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe phones weren't around when he saw it, but like the people that are like, oh, I was able to catch this Bigfoot and get within 10 feet of it or 20 feet of it. Almost, if someone is able to catch it, I'm almost gonna discount your story even more so. I'm going to lean towards the because watching a show like this, you see how hard it is to get them on camera. And somebody behind their house was able to like get close to one of like the smartest, most elusive creatures in the world, if they do exist. What are those funny memes where it's like the hide and seek champion?
Yeah. I've got a shirt that says that. Got a couple of them actually. Yeah.
So for me, it's like with UFOs, people that don't, why didn't they get video? Well, have you ever been in a traumatic experience or something that is fundamentally shaking you to your core of reality? You're not always going to go, let me grab my phone because later, so.
Right. Yeah, that's the kind of thing that comes later. Yep. Perception is reality, Tom says. Good point.
Yeah.
Question. Russell has seen multiple things, as have we, through the show. Why does he still not fully believe? I'm glad you said fully believe, because I think that's where he's at. Fully believe. He believes and he's seen some stuff, but I think he's still waiting for that full body Bigfoot to be standing in front of him.
So I believe in Bigfoot. I do not know Bigfoot. I think Russell wants to know Bigfoot.
Yes,
belief is not
enough. You said it much better than I did. Thank you. Russell's written a couple of books. If you have not seen these, and I've got a couple of them that I got from him, the Bitterroot series. And I thought when I got these books from him, I thought that they were a book about people's experiences. They're not. They're actually just a fictional book that he's written, a couple of them. But they're good, and he's done a great job with these. So, and I'm still reading them. I've got other books that I'm trying to read too.
I'm always interested.
Yeah,
I'm always interested in what these characters, that we're fans of, like Travis Taylor, Russell Acord, when they have fiction, series like this, I'm always curious how much of their belief system and how much of what they do think, but maybe aren't going to put their name and reputation on it just yet. How much of that comes through these stories? So I want to read. Yeah, I want to read those because I'd like to know. I feel like you can get a good sense of maybe not what they believe, but what they believe is possible.
Right. It's funny because this first one, I when I first was reading it, I thought it was a true story until I realized it wasn't. But it's almost like it was Russell. He was writing a story about himself and his own experiences until you get further into it and you're like, okay, and then I realized it was a fictional book, but it's almost like it was written like he had an experience that he's writing as if it were someone else making it a fictional story.
Yeah.
And so it leaves me questioning, and see if Eva thinks that way too. Because she just said they're very good. This one right here, Footprints of a Legend, that one there. Yeah, you get that with Russell's books. Yeah, it's interesting how it's almost like he experienced it, wrote the book as if it was someone else, rather than him saying that I this was me.
Yeah,
get that impression.
There's so many people like that study these things and then they write a book that's fiction and go, oh well, it's just fiction.
Yeah, it's just fiction. Yeah,
why do so many of these scientists and people from NASA and Department of Defense have sci-fi books where they write about all sorts of stuff?
Interesting.
Is this your way to get it out into the public? Did I freeze?
Yeah, apparently. So I have one last picture. It's just a picture. I just wanted to show it real quick, and it's one of the things that I mentioned before about the tech that they brought to bear on this. And we saw them out there. We seen at the very end of the show, and it was the cliffhanger for last night's show, was Dr. Mireya Mayor wearing these military grade night vision goggles, and she saw something and she was like, what the heck? And then cut, So she saw something at the end of the show with this right here, with these on, and we have to wait until next week to find out what it was. Looks like we lost him. He lost his internet connection, so hopefully he'll be back. But I'm about ready to wrap up the show anyway. So I really appreciate everyone being here tonight. I thought this was another good episode. I don't think that I ever not based upon so much about the Bigfoot stuff, but the bears and also the weird ritualistic type things that are out there. I don't know that I ever want to go out in the wilderness in Alaska and go hunting around. I'm a little worried about doing that. I was talking about me going into Alaska and probably not ever wanting to go hunting around in the woods for anything because there's just too much weird stuff out there. Yes, it was a cliffhanger. Russell has books. He's written a couple of them. So I've got a couple of them here. So I've been reading. So, so has several other people that I've met at Phenomicon. Have written books about Bigfoot and whatnot. So, yeah, you got Skinwalker and you got disconnected.
All
right. Well, I'm wrapping up the show. What'd you think? Good one? Another good episode?
Yeah. It's keeping me glued to the screen every time the show's on.
Keep you coming back for more.
Yep.
All right. Well, I appreciate it, folks, for you guys being here with us tonight. Love the comments and the questions. And so was that the last episode for the season? No, there are two more.
Two more?
Oh, I better be careful. I'll have balloons going around me. There are two more.
Hey, happy birthday.
I got to find that and fix it. All right. Yeah, there are two more episodes. So we're going to be covering those in the next couple of weeks. We're going to have Marie Dumont's going to come back. Mike will be back. And Seth, hopefully you'll be back.
Yeah.
And join us for some more. So, so that's it for tonight, folks. Thanks again for being here. And like I said earlier, give us a thumbs up if you like the content of the show tonight. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel and click that notification bell so you know when new material is coming out. Next week, we got some more. We're going to do some Curse of Oak Island stuff next week. We got Kat, Linda, and Renee, who I think all three were here tonight or are here tonight, where they're going to be sharing some of their pictures that they've sent me
I'm so excited for that.
Yay, release the balloons. Yay. All right, man. Now it's not going to do it. So we're going to be covering some of their expedition up in Nova Scotia. And then we're going to do Bigfoot again. And then we got Scott Clark, who's written a book about the Oak Island Odyssey. We're going to have him on November 1st. So we got lots of neat stuff coming up. We hope you guys will tune in for that. And Seth, thank you very much, sir. Appreciate you being here tonight.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Thanks, guys, for listening to me and all my crazy thoughts.
No, I can't. No, this is one place where you can share those things.
It's a safe space.
It's a safe place.
Bigfoot and
that's right.
Everything else.
That's right. All right. Thanks, folks. Have a great rest of the evening. We'll catch you next time right here on the J Free 906 podcast. Good night.